He is the host of numerous podcasts, including Talkin' Yanks and Talkin' Baseball with Talkin' Jake and former big leaguer Trevor Plouffe. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel or find him on Twitter at Jomboy_. He is Jimmy O'Brien. Jimmy, we appreciate you coming on. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at about a 10. How excited are you that baseball is back? I would peg you in around the 12 to 15 range.
Yes, I am very excited. I think I had my most fun day recording podcasts ever yesterday or Wednesday, but it was like a day. The excitement was a day delayed because when it first broke, my brain was still in labor dispute mode, like who won the negotiations, who didn't win the negotiation, who got what they wanted, who didn't. Am I happy with this result for the players and all that nonsense? And is this official? Like, is this 100% official? Is someone going to renege on it? Is there going to be more negotiations? So one day of all of that. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, it's real. And then I just started making my 30-man roster and making like a fake schedule in my head. Okay, 10 games against the Red Sox. Okay, 6 games against the Mets and going through all those motions. And, you know, a lot of people want to nip those in the bud right away and be like, don't even get excited. Corona's going to come back, the second wave. They may be right. It may come back, but for a week or two, just let me be excited because it's the most excited I've been talking about baseball in 3 months.
Jomboy, it's great to have you on here on One-on-One. And now that you can take your labor lawyer cap off and put on your baseball fan cap on, what do you make of this 60-game season? And do you think that it can be indicative enough to really consider who is the best team in Major League Baseball as opposed to the standard 162-game season?
Well, we're not going to be able to know who's the best in 2020 in a 162-game season, right? So all we can know is who's the best in a 60-game season. So if you want to compare the World Series winner to World Series winner of years past, it's not really a good comparison. But, I mean, because you can't do that, should we just not have anything? No. Give me some baseball. So, it will prove who's the best in a 60-game season. That will be the winner. That's what everyone has to do. But it's different than past winners, I guess. But, I mean, you just kind of got to get over it. It's the same thing that I said. Like, I was a day delayed on my excitement, switching my hats around, like you said. I'm also, at this point, like, 60 at first, 60-game season is going to suck. This extra inning rule is going to suck. This is so weird. Now, bring on the chaos. Sure. We're going to do 60 games. It's going to be weird. I'm even excited for the dumb extra inning rule, just for the 60 games. Don't ever give it to me again. But, how are they going to utilize that? So at this point, I am just in the deep end, like floating around, having a blast thinking about baseball. And I don't care if it's a weird version of it anymore. I'm just excited.
You mentioned the beginning extra innings with a runner on second, also the National League going to the DH. How do you think that those two things will affect you? Do you think there's going to be little effect, more effect, a lot? It's going to change a lot of things. How do you feel about those two things?
Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of effect on the runner on second because games will end earlier and bullpens will be saved and people will be less tired. But, down the stretch, like say you're in a division race and you're 2 games out and you go to extras. I mean, that pitcher for the home team to make sure that he strands that runner at second, like you're not going to throw some chump out there. Like you might have to save, like say the Yankees have Ottavino, Britton, Canely, Chapman, right? So say Chapman pitches, usually if it's a home game, the Chapman will pitch the 9th and you're hoping for a walk-off, right? Well, that's the opposite. Whatever. What I'm saying is you're going to have to save one of those top 4 guys for the 10th because you can't run your best 4 out there if it's a tie game in the 8th, knowing what's looming. And then, okay, now Holder's up in the 10th to strand the guy when you have to win the game to secure the division or a playoff berth. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy if you save a guy for the 10th inning and all that and pinch running and bunting. And it's going to be a different brand of baseball. But, at the beginning of the season, I think it'll be taken kind of lightly and we'll see what happens and feel it out. But when 2 teams are Yankees are playing the Rays and their games apart and it goes to extras, that's maybe going to feel kind of crappy. Like, oh, this is how this is getting settled. So I'm kind of wrapping my head around that now. Like, how do you take it as serious as possible? I don't know how they're going to do it.
And Jimmy, I think we all can agree that the biggest element here in completing this 60-game season and getting through the playoffs and the World Series is the health and safety protocols. I think we all can agree that players are going to get the coronavirus. It's inevitable. What do you think is that the point where Major League Baseball maybe says 30, 40 games into the season, hey, too many players, coaches, people around the team are getting the coronavirus? When do you think it'll be enough where Major League Baseball maybe thinks, hey, we can't complete this season?
Man, I'd have to know so much more, like, know anything about science. I don't know anything. So I would guess you look at a wave, of just MLB players and people that are in these stadiums and doing the traveling, and maybe they have a threshold, or maybe they have like a certain amount of increase within 1 week, halts production or whatever you want to say. So maybe they have some measures that they're going to be looking at. I don't know what they would be. I would guess, if 1 week, 15% of players get it, okay, pause. And maybe there's a pause button instead of just a shut down button. I have no idea. I'm sure that they've thought about this a lot, but I am not smart enough to make those rules. So it's going to be heavily monitored and taken seriously, I would hope.
One of the aspects of a coronavirus shortened season is that there will be no fans in the stands. How do you think no fans will affect games this year?
It's not like football where you try to drown out the offensive team so they can't like hear each other. Like, that's a big advantage, being the home team or the away team in football. Basketball, I think there's also just like the environment. In regular season baseball, for majority of the teams, I don't know how much they feed off their home fans. Like Yankee fans can be great. Mets fans, some of these Northeast teams, but not to name any names, but some of the lesser teams, like Marlins, haven't fed off their fans in 2 decades. So they'll probably be unfazed. The Rays, unfazed. But there will be teams, but it's going to be weird. I think that they'll probably play some organs or some music. I don't think fake crowd noise, but maybe something just to make it more normal. I think they'll get over that rather quickly. 60-game season, if you need fans to remind you that this matters and this is for something and stay in the zone, that's on you. I think they'll be able to be fine without it. It'd be a weird viewing experience. Hopefully we can hear the players and stuff like that.
And Jimmy, I think the contentious labor negotiations will be what everyone comes back to even when the season resumes, because we all felt like baseball could have started earlier and could have had the spotlight to itself in the sports world. Do you think that these contentious labor negotiations, what do you think the lasting effect on the sport moving forward when the CBA does expire?
The next CBA is going to be ugly, really ugly. But people have been saying that for the last 2 seasons, and that was before this. People had been saying strike. I went to the last 2 winter meetings, and people have been saying, like, gear up, there's probably going to be a strike the last 2 winter meetings. And that's before the nastiness of these negotiations. So just be prepared to have terrible headlines and both sides using the media as, outlets and sneaking stuff out and all that nonsense. Be prepared. It's going to get ugly.
So you are the host of the Talkin' Yanks podcast. So I was hoping we could get into a little Yankees talk here. Assuming we have a season, what are you looking forward to most out of seeing the Yankees play this year?
Cole and pinstripes. I think that's we've been dying to see that for a while now, and he was the big signing. Everyone being healthy is really cool to start the season, or to start spring training, I should say. Fingers crossed. But Paxton, Hicks, Judge, Stanton all weren't going to be part of this team in the early going. So they're all healthy as I speak. They may not be healthy moving forward. Someone's going to get hurt in camp. Someone's going to get hurt in the first month. That's going to suck. But they can start the season with that many guys healthy. That's really different for the last 2 years of Yankee fandom. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully, Judge and Cole, I'd like them to just have good, nice, short seasons. I'm just excited to get like baseball back in general.
And talking about this pitching staff for the Yankees and that starting rotation after Cole, after Tanaka, and after Paxton, there's kind of that open slot for that fourth starter. We won't have Sevy for this season, and the two candidates are Hap and Jordan Montgomery, aka Gumby. Do you think Hap or Montgomery, which one of those two do you have more confidence in emerging as that fourth starter in the rotation?
Oh, I think Hap will have it just because of veteran status, and Gumby hasn't pitched really in a year, over a year and a half now, maybe even 2 years now, besides 2 innings at the end of last year, but really like getting a start and going deep. He hasn't done that, I think, in 2 years. I think it was May of 2018 when he went down with Tommy John. So, and Hap's just got the veteran status. And if you remember, Hap used the entire offseason to retool his entire delivery, and he was having a good spring, and he said he felt good about it. He said he's more whippy now. So I think Hap will have the 4 and Gumby will have the 5, but I would not be surprised if they kind of piggyback those two guys, and Sessa, Loaizaga, David Hale, Chad Green, like someone that can eat up 3 innings in an outing is ready to go behind Hap and Gumby in case they, start to falter.
I think a lot of people, in looking at the Yankees roster, are confident in the bullpen for sure, confident in the position players and the lineup that they're going to run out there. But how confident should the Yankees be in this starting rotation? You add Garrett Cole, but you lose Luis Severino, and top to bottom, that I think is the biggest question for the Yankees. Where do you feel they're at with their starting rotation?
Yeah, and Domingo Germán was really good last year before he got suspended. I think he had like 18 wins. Not that wins matter, but they do mean you're doing something right. All his other stats were good as well. So the staff's pretty good still. I mean, Cole's one of the best pitchers in all baseball. Top 3, top 2. I don't know where you want to place him, but he's in the top 5 for sure. You got Paxton, who's coming off a really good second half, a good playoff start against Houston. Hopefully he's more comfortable in the Bronx and he's healthy. And Tanaka is my dude. So Tanaka's great when the games matter. So if you just tell Tank, hey, all these games matter a little bit more, Masa, then he'll just turn it up a little bit more for you. So it's good. And when you compare it around the league, it's a good staff. I mean, it sucks that the Yankees will be playing the NL East, which is full of good staffs. So, they're going to see a lot of good pitchers, but maybe we'll spin zone that and say that'll help them in the playoffs more.
And you talk about some of the guys who are coming back, hitters like Judge, Stanton, and Andujar will be back. Do you expect this offense to get off to a fast start, considering it is a 60-game season? And at their best, at 100%, where do you see this offense? Where do you rank this offense among the best in Major League Baseball?
Well, it's up there. I mean, Stan's won an MVP. He's hit 59 home runs before. Judge hit 50 home runs. I mean, when Judge is healthy, his numbers are unreal. People like to harp on the injuries, but go look at his numbers when he's healthy. They're amazing. Gary Sanchez, the second fastest player ever to 100 home runs. I mean, you have Glaber, who's just a budding star. DJ LeMahieu was in the up for like the batting title last year. I mean, you can keep going. Gio Urshela had an amazing year. Maybe he might not do that. There's a lot of firepower in this offense. I mean, Andujar, if he's getting reps at DH, he was second for Rookie of the Year. He was like, the Yankees' second MVP in 2018. You have Gardner, who's going to do his thing. Maybe pop some more home runs if the balls are still juiced, but, Gardner will be there seeing pitches. I think he's led the league. He's in the upper echelon of pitches seen per plate appearance, which is don't overlook that because it is huge for wearing down a pitcher. So the offense is great. I don't know where it ranks. I'd have to really go around the league, but it's one of the best offenses when all healthy for sure.
You mentioned Miguel Andujar, and I think he's one of the more interesting characters that the Yankees are going to have to find a place for in terms of filling out a lineup every day. Where do you think he fits?
Mostly at DH. If Urshela gets hurt, then maybe more at third, or maybe at third here and there to spell a guy. Maybe you can put him at third when Garrett Cole pitches because it's a lot of strikeouts. I don't think you'll see him at third when Montgomery's up there or Tanaka. These pitchers that induce contact and ground balls. And at the end of 2018, Neil Walker was CC Sabathia's personal third baseman, basically, because Andujar was one of the worst third basemen to ever do it statistically. So I think they're going to try and limit him in the field. We saw him a lot in left field at spring training, but he's like sixth on the defensive list now with everyone healthy. Stanton, Hicks, Judge, Gardy, Tauchman are the first five. And you got Clinton, Andujar, and maybe they're even tied at this point. So I think you'll see him at DH, pinch hit here and there. I don't know where he's going to play in the field. If Voit gets hurt, is he get some reps at first? I don't know. But he can hit the hell out of the ball, so they're going to have him get some at-bats.
And just looking at a specific player in DJ LeMahieu, you mentioned he was an MVP candidate. Just considering he can play just about any position on the field, if, let's say, somebody like Luke Voit is struggling, do you think that Aaron Boone might think, hey, I could move DJ over to first base, maybe bring in somebody like Wade, or maybe take a chance on Andujar considering who's starting that day? Do you see that maybe happening, DJ moving elsewhere to kind of fill a void? Or if somebody like Urshela does get hurt at third, considering that he's so valuable as a utility player?
There's a lot of options, right? You can move DJ to third if Gio gets hurt and put Wade at second. You can just put Wade at third. He's played third before. You can put DJ at first and Wade at second. The versatility is there all around, and maybe that even hurts Andujar, because if you want someone who can play defense, you got a lot of other guys that can do it at multiple positions. So, yeah, I mean, the versatility is going to help out. There's a lot of different combinations, and just judging on who's hitting well, I think that's how you'll line up the defense. Glaber will be at short, Gio will be at third, and if they're healthy, and then you just kind of see who's swinging good.
I also wanted to ask you about Glaber Torres, right? How do you feel about him moving over to shortstop as opposed to playing second base for the last couple of years? And can we expect a huge year for him because he's got 10 games against the Orioles?
Yeah, that's exciting, right? And why would the Orioles even try? What are they going to do? I think the Orioles are so bad that they can't even fool themselves that, hey, maybe we can do it in a 60-game season. Like, I know the Pirates are over there saying, hey, we're still like in a kind of a retooling, but we can win 60 games. And maybe, there's some teams doing that, but the Orioles don't kid yourselves. You guys can't do it. So just let Glaber hit a bunch of home runs. And I think that's perfect.
And Jimmy, just as a Yankees fan, how scared are you of the potential that the Tampa Bay Rays, who are considered to be one of the favorites to get to the World Series with this condensed schedule, how scared are you of the Tampa Bay Rays?
They have to win that season series, right? They get 10 games against the Rays. They got to try and do damage there. We actually were on a call with Booney yesterday, and I asked him about the weighted schedules. And I said, those 40 games against the 4 AL East teams are worth so much more than the 20 against the NL East teams, because the Twins are in the Central playing a bunch of teams that didn't even get past 500 last year. And if the Indians and the Twins are racing for the division, they're probably going to get some crazy good records because they're playing a bunch of slop teams, where the Yankees have to play the NL East, who are good. So you don't want to be in a wild card race because it's an unfair race. The West and the Central, they're playing against different strength of schedules. And I think the East on paper is the best combination. So the games, again, you want to win the division. You don't want to be in an AL. You don't want to be in a wild card race with the A's, who get to play the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, the Mariners, and you're over here playing the Braves, the Nationals, the Mets, the Phillies. It's not balanced. So you have to win the division. So you have to. I was even saying, if they open up the schedule and it's the first 3 games are against the Mets and the next 3 are against the Rays, I'd push Cole and Tanaka and Paxton to the next 3 games. They're not going to do that because they're just going to have to put the mindset out that, we need to win no matter what. But those games against the East are so much more valuable. So you got to win the season series against the Rays. You got to take 7 out of the 10, I think.
How exciting do you think that this season is going to be, given the nature of every game being so much more important? How important is it for the Yankees to get off to a fast start? And how do you think that this sort of situation is going to affect the way that they start because they're not going to have a traditional spring training again. And I've said it's kind of like high school baseball, right? You're doing your inner squad, you're practicing with your own team, but then when it comes time to play actual games, this is your first crack at it, and you got to go.
It's going to be weird spring training. Jake and I were joking that they should just loan out pitchers. Like they should send DeGrom to Yankee Stadium and Paxton to Citi Field so you can face a different, not a teammate, in a game. But it'll be weird. And you said how exciting is this season going to be? And I'll answer that. It's going to be as exciting as it is frustrating because just as much every game is going to be celebrated more, every loss is going to be, it's going to be double. I mean, last year, if you guys are Yankees fans and you follow Twitter and you follow the masses, if the Yankees lost 3 games in a row last year, in a 162-game season, I think they only lost 3 games in a row like 3 times. It was mass hysteria. It was this, oh no, what's going on? Oh my God. In 100, imagine if they lose 3 games in a row in a 60-game set, people are going to cry. They're going to like threaten to quit the team and kill Boone or something like that. So it's going to be as frustrating as it is exciting.
And I would be remiss if I didn't. You mentioned Aaron Boone as somebody you interviewed the other day. On Twitter, I also saw that you said you had interviews with an umpire, a player, and 2 GMs. Can you give us any hints on those other interviews? And what should we expect from those interviews that you were able to conduct?
That tweet's a little, I should have worded that tweet better, but yes, we recorded content with everyone, and all of it's not for Talking Yanks, Talking Baseball. We have some new things in the works. We talked with some former GMs and some players, former umpire, Dale Scott. He's the best. He's the first openly gay umpire in MLB. So we had him on, for Monday's episode of Talking Baseball about that for Pride Month. And yeah, we have two GMs. I don't think I can say who they are yet, but it's a show that we have in the works that is based on the front office side of baseball and asking players about being recruited to teams and trades that almost happened but then didn't, and trades that did, and how did they happen, and things like that. So it's something new and that's coming in the next couple weeks. And then we had Booney, and that we kind of bombarded him in that virtual chat, but we got to ask some questions and hear him. So it was just wild to leave the office and be like recapping the day and like, whoa, we talked to a lot of people today, 4 months ago, 6 months ago. Like that's not even a possibility in my brain.
I wanted to get into your career a little bit. Why did you want to get started with Jomboy Media, and could you envision the success that you've had when you started it?
No, I could not envision the success. So it started as a hobby. I just was, 26 or 27 and working in a job that I knew wasn't my future. And I was kind of refusing to get a job that was a quote unquote career because I didn't want to, I felt like once that happened, then any of my creative hobbies would never pan out. So I was working this job that didn't offer me a lot of money or anything, but it offered me a lot of free time to do things on the side. And I did so many things before I finally woke up and was like, talk about baseball. I like baseball. So I just started live tweeting the Yankees. And once I got to like 1,000 followers on Twitter, I had like none. I started doing a live show, like Q&A show about the Yankees. And after 5 episodes, I brought my friend Jake on and we started talking Yanks. It became more of like a podcast. No idea what we were doing. Everything is self-taught, which I think is one of my better skills. Is I'll just figure it out and do it myself. And then it just kept going. So like originally I got an offer from someone that said, hey, I think you should do this full time. I'll give you a tiny bit of money. It was less than I was making at my shitty job where I made no money. But I did it full time for a year, thinking that the worst case was I build a little part-time job out of it and can continue it as a part-time job. And I'll go back to being a videographer. But I didn't want that to happen. So instead it worked out. So we did it. We did the first 2 years, no money. The next year we really started, which was last year, which was 2019 was the second year. And, we were living off zero money, just doing everything we can, 24 podcasts a week, 24 breakdown videos a week, putting out as much as we can. And when things like the Savages hit and things like the Pirates and the Reds brawl happened, and then, I don't even want to lump the Astros into there, because after those things, after Savages and Pirates and it kind of was catching storm, we had investors coming to us. We had real revenue streams, and, we had to have a meeting. It was just Jake and I and one investor, and it was like, okay, this is growing. It's an actual company now. We got to let's do that. So we had to board meetings and we had investors come in. So over this past off season. And then when the Astros hit in the middle of the negotiations with our investors, so that kind of helped out. It was like, look, this is what we're doing. So a lot of people think that everything, was based off the Astros, but we had a lot in place right before that. It's just kind of like icing on the cake for everything that was happening. We had the office set up before that. We were growing really nicely, but I mean, I've never had any goals. People ask that all the time. I say, I don't want to make goals because I don't want to be disappointed if we don't reach them, because I would just be making something up. I don't know what we want to do next. Opportunities have just been presented to us by companies, by people with ideas. And we say, will I like this? Will our audience like this? Usually if we don't like it, we don't think our audience will. And is it worthwhile? And that's how everything started. We started the breakdowns, people liked it. And then we said, hey, we have a lot of people that are following on YouTube and stuff that like baseball, but don't like the Yankees. Why don't we offer a podcast for all of baseball? And that's a big undertaking because it's a lot of games. So we were just like, yeah, let's test it out. We tested it out. People seem to like it. And kind of that's just how everything goes with us. If we think we like it, put it in front of our audience. If they like it, we'll keep going. I started doing a morning show as a joke during quarantine. And now it gets 15,000, 20,000 listeners a day. So it's that wasn't part of the goal, but now I have a daily morning show. I wouldn't have told you that 2 months ago. I want a daily morning show where I talk about geography and history and baseball players. You know what I mean? So we've stumbled into everything. And that's how I want it to stay. So it's very hard to tell that to investors because they want a solid plan. I know our audience will tell us what they like and what they don't like, and we'll try a lot of things and we'll figure it out. So I don't have any goals moving forward. We just want to grow and keep building our community.
And Jimmy, you and Jake have become this dynamic duo on your podcast. Can you kind of just give us the origins of the start of your friendship and where that started and how it's just developed and into what it is today?
Yeah, we met freshman year of high school. I just moved to town in Connecticut. So we played freshman baseball together. Connecticut's the woods, it's the sticks. So we lived 40 minutes apart. So we never hung out at each other's houses because it was just too far of a drive for our parents, which is true, 40 minutes both ways. But we always got along in school and on baseball field. And I moved away after my sophomore year of high school to California. But then I moved back my sophomore year of college. And when I moved back, him and I went to school together. We stayed in touch, and I moved back and we went to college together in New Britain, Central Connecticut State. We were roommates, just hit it off like crazy. We have the same sense of humor. We're both silly. We both would rather not take things seriously, and just have fun. We also both don't really need to be crude or rude to have fun. It's weird. You try to find your voice and stuff, and it's well, you can be funny and not insult people. And then you can kind of teeter that line. I think we both are on the same wavelength there. So we've just been best friends forever. I mean, and now we work together, which school we both are in the company together. So it's just crazy. It's cool. It makes the banter on the shows, which I think people enjoy, really easy, because that's just how we talk to each other. If you listen to Jomboy and Jake radio, that's basically we're just talking about news stories, how we have for the last decade, but there's mics in front of us now.
How surprised were you that Savages in the Box blew up the way it did last year?
Not that surprised, because what a rant. It's just the best thing ever. As soon as Jake was actually in town because we were hosting an event at the stadium the day before. It got rained out the event we hosted. So the makeup game was the next day in a day game. So that's why there's no fans at that game. That's why you can hear Boone perfectly, because there's no fans. It's like a Wednesday day game, makeup game. So no one had tickets. No one's there. So we were watching it, and he was there, and my brother was there. And, you know, when it happened, I'm working the game. I have like all my monitors and everything. And I go, okay. And I record it. I'm like, well, as soon as it ends on the TV, I go to the recording and I'm listening to it. And I was just like, shut up. Everyone shut up. This is amazing. Leave me alone. This is amazing. So I just go to like editing it and typing the subtitles and like as fast as I can. I get it out there, and I knew it was going to be huge. I was like, Jake, get t-shirts ready. Get this ready. Cause it's just, that's what people want to be privy to. And, you know, the Savages in the box, and even like, just every line of that rant is so amazing. Tighten it up. It's so good.
And you also found yourself as part of the investigation with the Astros back in 2017. What was putting that video together like, and finding out that a team eventually sent that video to the commissioner, in essence saying that this is what they were talking about?
Putting it together was fun and easy, because it was just kind of like what I did, you know, like if there was baseball news, let's make a little breakdown video and share my thoughts on it in a way, but not even my thoughts. Sometimes just like, let me walk you through it so you can kind of see. Anyone who's not paying attention to the story has no idea. Like, hey, here's a digestible version of what's happening. And, you know, you read the Athletic article, and Farquhar, the relief pitcher for the White Sox, says, yeah, I stepped off the mound. I could hear it. We find that footage. It's like, oh, this is easy. And then, you know, I think I put the word bang on the screen, because when you get both senses working for people, they don't just have to listen. You can hear things louder when someone puts the subtitles or the words on there, which is why people like the Savages video too, because you can understand everything he says with a subtitle. So just kind of like kicking in every sense for people, walking them through the story. I think I like showed, here's this article just came out. This is what happened. This is what happened. So that part was easy. Well, that part was easy, but I knew it would be big, but I did not know it was going to be as big as it was. Like I knew it was going to be big in the baseball world. I didn't know it was going to be big in the sports world. And then I didn't know it was just going to be big in the world. So like that video went beyond baseball into all sports. Any sports fan saw that video or heard about what happened with the Astros. And further than that, that video and that story went to just anyone that likes news and scandals. You know, my aunt, who doesn't pay attention to baseball at all, heard about it and then saw it. You know what I mean? So like it had legs. It went pretty far.
He is the host of Talkin' Yanks and Talkin' Baseball. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel at Jomboy Media, or find him on Twitter at Jomboy_. Jimmy O'Brien, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us today.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jomboy.